Thank you, KSI, and thank you, PEPS, for giving us this opportunity. Right, distinguished delegates, now this is the final round today, and of course, you know, we already entered, the rush hour, last session, so we'll try to make it as fast as possible, right? So, okay, the last topic, as you know, the property market outlook, what to expect in 2023 this year, and what can go wrong, right? So we have three distinguished panel speakers here, all right? On my right is Siva Shanker, the CEO of Real Estate Department, Rahim and Co. International Berhad. And then on my left, Foo Gee Jen, the chairman of CBRE, W2W, international real estate firm in the country. And then on the extreme left, Previndran Dato Singhe, the CEO of Zerin Properties, the Malaysian-based real estate firm, CEO of Malaysian-based real estate firm. So three distinguished panel speakers are here, all right? So I'll make it short because with their permission, because we are running out of time. So okay, now we have actually structured this way. Siva Shanker will be speaking on industrial sector, and then Foo Gee Jen will be taking on the office and retail sector, and Previndran on hospitality and wellness. All right. So let me introduce, welcome Shiva to give out his speech. Thanks.
Thank you, Subra. Thank you very much, everybody, for staying on. I know it's tempting to go home, but anyway, I'm going to cover the industrial sector, which has now, in the last few years, because of the turmoil in every other sector, become the darling of the industry, the sweetheart sector, so to say. And just to take you through some, are the slides working? So just to take you through some slides, just to focus on what has happened in the first 9 months of 2021 versus the first 9 months of 2022. You can see from this chart that I know the guys at the back can't see because the slides are too small. But what you will see is that the market has actually zoomed forward in the first 9 months of 2022. There's a huge improvement over 2021. So what it shows is that not just during the COVID years that the market went up, even when COVID's more or less settled, we are in an endemic stage, things have become normal, the market still seems to be surging forward for industrial. And you will notice from this pie chart that unfortunately for us, although industrial is one of the major drivers of growth in Malaysia, the industrial property market in Malaysia is only about 2% of the entire transactions in the real estate market. And that's just simply ridiculous, you know, to spend 66% of our time on residential and still not be able to get the affordable housing right, even after that. So we're just focusing simply on the wrong areas. This map is a snapshot of the whole of Malaysia, and it compares the first 9 months of last year with the first 9 months of 2021. And if you can look at the industrial, it's industrial in every state is green, which means that the industrial market improved last year over the year before, right? And there's been some major disruptions in supply chain. Of course, COVID-19 was a serious disruptor. The inflation has become a big problem. The labor shortage and the unavailability of foreign labor in Malaysia, automation and the Ukrainian war, that's caused trouble. What we're doing now is we're moving towards managed industrial park. This is very obvious now already. The hodgepodge, one here, one there, development doesn't seem to be working, and these industrial parks seem to be the way forward because they're allowing the funds to invest money into into these industrial parks. So proper managed industrial parks are being built, which now then begs the question of needing large tracts of land. So hodgepodge gone, and then so these are now starting to look. If you look at pictures, if you look at websites of the modern day industrial developers, you will see that they're starting to look like high-end condos already. Some of them even have swimming pools. So the guardhouse facilities, jogging facilities, maybe tennis courts, maybe cycling areas, good class workers accommodation. These are all becoming almost necessary already. And with what happened with COVID over the last few years, workers' accommodation has become even more important now, right? And unfortunately, if you need to get all this in place, then you need economies of scale, and you need a certain large tract of land which you need to start working with. Logistics also changing now. We are getting far more requirements for larger and larger warehouses. Gone are the days where 50,000 was large. We're talking 300, 500, and above 500,000 square feet now for warehouses. Higher eaves heights, stack more, automatic retrieval systems, sophisticated racking systems. So you're doing away with labor, doing away with the forklifts, doing away with the lights. It goes dark. Safety systems are in place. Higher load-bearing floors, and something that I didn't include here, which is the ESG. That's become a major factor, and I think it's going to be an even bigger factor. If it does nothing at all, it's just going to add cost to construction. Right? So requirements are changing as well. We've got what we're seeing now is larger space near ports and airports, smaller spaces in satellite towns and suburbs, and even smaller, tinier spaces as last mile connectivity. We lack last mile connectivity, which is why we see a lot of shop houses, ground floor of shop houses, being converted into warehouses for last mile connectivity. But we need to sort this out because last mile connectivity is so important, because speed is definitely of the essence. So the supply remained unchanged, rates have remained firm. There was some pressure for rents to go downwards during the COVID years, but I think most owners held firm. The 3PL logistics company seems to be in expansion mode, and I think online business will create a big, huge demand. Right? We still have a bit of shortage of warehousing space, and we should start going towards development of larger spaces in bigger than 300,000 square feet. But the problem now seems to be this: with the industrial sector suddenly being so sexy, and more developers are entering this sector, and unfortunately the yields have already started to compress a little bit as more funds start to chase these industrial properties. It seems to be the only stable sector in the property market, and I think if this continues, I think if more people jump onto this lucrative bandwagon, then I think, like everything else in Malaysia, sometimes we're stupid, we don't know when to stop. We will see an oversupply situation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, Siva, just for a short and concise presentation. Well, Siva, maybe I just add. Just want to ask you something. Just now you said the managed industrial parks are getting popular now. So is this in any way posing a danger to the conventional industrial schemes, parks and all that?
I think the way to look at it would be exactly what happened with residential, where earlier on there were just normal houses and normal apartments, and then the condos with the facilities and the managed condos came into play, and of course the market moved towards them, and that became a lot more popular. So I think it's only natural that this will happen here, even more so, because then you get economies of scale where if the tract of land is large enough, then you get some people producing, some people buat the barang, and some people can store the barang and hantar the barang to elsewhere. So everything in one space. And then your workers is close by, the amenities are close by. So yes, I think eventually that's going to be the preferred norm rather than this.
Was there any reason in the recent budget announcement? Was there any incentives or a sort of given to this sector?
Unfortunately, my two friends will also tell me that this budget was very unfriendly to the property sector, but there was some incentives given in tax to the electronics and electronics sector. So yes, I think any form of incentive you give just makes Malaysia a more attractive FDI destination, and money will come in. But you got to make it simple. You got to keep it easy, and you got to allow them to, to some extent, let them do what they need to do.
All right. Thank you so much, Siva Shanker, for the concise session. Okay, now audience, later I will open the session for delegates ask questions. So now let me move to Foo Gee Jen to give out on the office sector. Yep, Surveyor.
Thank you, Subra. Okay, what I intend to do today to address the question that put forward for the discussion, what to expect for the year 2023 and what can go wrong. Primarily, I'm going to address two issues which is very have been in discussion for the last 5 to 8 years for the office sector. I think the first part, we're talking about oversupply. I tend to look into this oversupply situation at a different perspective. I think, to me, the oversupply of the office space has been overblown in a way, because we need to look really, is that really oversupply situation in Kuala Lumpur? Because we need to address whether what are the root of this problem, where are the real oversupply situation, right? We need to understand, just like the affordable housing segment and other housing, there's also oversupply. But there is a root of this problem. So, okay, let me share with you my finding. Let's look into occupancy of all the location. Now, if you look at this slide from the far top right-hand corner is the KL City Center. You have 75% occupancy, the rental hovering around in the region of about, let me get my slide correct, it's a bit small for me also, about 6 to 11 ringgit. So tenant profile also important, right? And you look at KL Center, you look at Bangsa South, you look at Bangsa, KL Eco-City and Imek Valley, it touches 94 to 96% occupancy. While you are going to the left, Petaling Jaya, things start to trade down, and worse situation in the city center, right? Only 75%. So that really sums up the entire larger Greater Kuala Lumpur with almost about 120 million square feet, with occupancy or vacancy, let's say about 20%, that translates into almost about 24 million square feet of empty spaces. Where are those empty spaces? So you need to understand, and you look at the chart here, those in the lighter green are the newer building, newer location, better accessibility, even better than the old traditional Kuala Lumpur city center. Okay, now the challenges is not about location, not about the oversupply situation, is that generally looking at old building versus new building. Okay, if you look at this chart, generally occupancy of older building is around 50%. Right? And these are the challenges that we need to face, right? Now, The other question that we need to ask ourselves, you look at the other developed city in the world, be it London, New York, Milan, Rome, they are still using the old building, 100 years old, 50 years old building, readaptation, repurpose. But what happening in Kuala Lumpur? Are we overbuilding or we are under-maintain the building? Right? So I like to take a note, I think the earlier discussion, the architect Ali mentioned about, should we use the old building which is not occupied, office building, and repurpose it for residential, right? I think the last 2-3 years is happening in town, not so much for residential. I know there's one old building in Raja Chulan was sold to be converted as a data center, right? Of course, there's some of the building in Raja Chulan also from the office building convert into hotel. So you look at this. What I try to do, I dissect this further, analyze, just looking at one particular area, looking at the building that built in the 90s and built in the year 2000 and above. It's almost like 50-50%, right? But you look at the average occupancy rate strictly on multi-tenant. Don't look into the with anchor tenant. So that likely to be occupied, owner occupied by single or related party. You look into the multi-tenant building, in the older building, occupancy is only 45%, as compared to the newer building which is built after the year 2000 is almost 76%. So that shows clearly the question we need to ask, that the building is under-maintained rather than overbuilding, right? So the old building probably can be done, improved upon, and certainly occupancy would be better. We don't need to build more, but probably a better maintenance. Now, the second issue I try to address, I think with the pandemic, I think the changes of the working behavior, of course, the advancement of the technology, okay, and allowed. And you look at the human evolution today, right? I'm not saying we are starting as a monkey, but of course, over the year as a caveman, and we rely on laptop, and now moving on into metaverse, I don't know how the future. Pre-pandemic, I think you have a HQ, then you have satellite office, and you have project site, and so forth. During pandemic, the office ecosystem has changed drastically, right? So for the future, what in store for office building, right? So everybody talking about work from home. There's also some changes that we notice that you are bringing home to office, right? So you add on facility. In this morning, some of the speakers talking about the about more woman-friendly to the office. You are bringing in nursery, you are building in the feeding room to the office and so forth. So these are the things that you are bringing home to office. It's not only about working from home. So it's very much flexible. So that will make a lot of changes in terms of the demand for the office building in the year to come, right? So just to share with you, these are our CBRE Asia Pac survey, right? Almost 2/3 of the response post-pandemic area is saying that they will adopt a flexible working in the new environment. More than half going to refine workplace strategy and policy. Almost half also talking about wellness is the issue, right? Many people talking about me, in the space for myself. Generally, everybody want to work in probably very safe environment. Almost 1/3 would delay return to office. But of course, I think on the distant perspective, there's also a survey in Germany showing almost 2/3 of the younger people who go to the office now prefer to go to office because they felt a bit disconnected working from home, right? So almost 20% of the respondents saying they will be reducing long-term portfolio. So that would certainly impact the office demand in the future. These are charts to show the attendance to the office for the new equivalent. So there's no survey on Malaysia, but you look really in the new emerging market like China, Hong Kong, and even Singapore, predominantly people are still prefer to come back to work in the office, right? And of course, I think the city center is still a preferred location, and office in the suburb have become a lot more catching up to do. Right, these are my market observation. Certainly there will be a growing demand on the flexi working, fixed unit and short-term leases. Okay, building with the latest infrastructure, green element, ESG will become a lot more relevant in the office market. Okay, with that, thank you.
Thank you so much, Surveyor Foo Gee Jen. Yeah, that was a concise and a very precise presentation. Now, I will go back to Surveyor Foo Gee Jen later on the questions. All right. Now, I would like to invite Surveyor Previndran Dato Singhe to present on the wellness and also hospitality.
Thank
Surveyor
you.
Previndran. Yeah.
Thank you. Do we have the slides? Thanks. Yep. We've been tracking the hospitality market since about early 2000s, right? And a lot of these are going to be data, but I also would share some observations as well. So pre-COVID, you know, we were already hitting 26 million tourist arrivals, 86 billion in revenue. So, you know, things were very good. But I think one of the worst hit sectors during the pandemic was the tourism industry. You know, hospitality could have been one, but the tourism sector as well. You know, I know of my personal friends who were tour guides, tour agents. Some of them actually took a lot of drastic measures, and, you know, it didn't end well. So, but what's happening now? I think, as you can see, you know, January and September of 2022, it was such a pushback, you know, fantastic, resilient domestic tourism. And, you know, the receipts were also increasing. In fact, the forecast was doubled by mid-year. It was actually only 4 million tourist arrivals and about 11 billion in revenue, but the forecast towards late last year has actually increased. This year, I think it would be revised again. It's estimated at 16.1 million, but I think we are seeing very strong numbers coming in from the region. Yeah. In terms of the hotel guests, I'm just putting this here to show how bad it was, you know, because we've always had a strong domestic market, but the foreign market was also a strong contributor. And as you can see, by 2021, the numbers were already dwindling, right? It was really bad. But again, a strong comeback in 2022. We are seeing a lot of the foreign tourists coming back and wanting to come to Malaysia. I'll share something about that a bit later, right? Now, occupancy. I'm sure the slides will be with you, but I think most important is Penang and Langkawi. Every weekend, since the market opened, every long holiday, Penang and Langkawi were recording 100% occupancies. And that was followed by Sarawak and Pahang with an average of 65% occupancies. So those were very, very strong states, very strong destinations, and generally fueled by domestic tourism, right? So the budget's been great. I think for the tourism sector, there's a lot of tax benefits, but also the grant, the matching grant, Visit Malaysia year, which is, for me, I think is going to be a great success, and the collaboration with airlines, 40 million worth of funds available for collaboration. I have done one charter before from Russia to Langkawi, and it was fantastically successful. And this is what I wanted to share with you on connectivity. The single biggest problem of the Malaysian tourism sector now, as we recover, other than labor, is we don't have flights. I'm embarrassed as a Malaysian that my national airline only flies to one city in Europe, and my national airline doesn't fly to America. And to give you the size of the tourism industry, there are 8 flights a day from Bali to Moscow, and 7 flights a day from Phuket to Russia. Just give you an idea, and yet we are not even connected, right? So even it comes back to our discussion on affordable housing. I know it might not correlate, but the national airline can only be profitable after it has been funded well. Trying to make money out of the national airline now is, I think, counterproductive, right? So now with this 40 million, charter airlines are fantastic, right? Because when we brought the Russians, they stay for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's fantastic. But I also hope that, Malaysian airports can tie up with another airline other than Qatar to bring in the crowd, right? Because I just don't think we can rely on our own national airline. And I think the other factors, the infrastructure projects. Cameron Highlands is actually a gem, and I think COVID helped it recover. I went during and I went after, and I've actually seen a lot of things happening, and I think I was very pleased to see the infrastructure for the Habu Road right up to Tanah Rata, and also the Senai Desaru Expressway. I drive to Desaru at least once a month, and sometimes that road can really it can drive you up the wall, so I think that expansion is fantastic. I'm just sharing what happened in the previous year. Other than the 1.6 billion, there was additional incentive for the medical tourism. Medical tourism, I think, is the next big thing in Malaysian tourism, together, and especially if it's married together with ecotourism. So the Tourism Malaysia is already projecting at least 5 to 10% of total tourism receipts to be medical tourism. Now, I did put the Rantau Nomad Pass here, just to give you an idea. Sometimes, we might be disconnected with the rest of the world. This Nomad Pass was fantastic. It gives global travelers, freelancers, those who work from home to come to Malaysia and live in Malaysia, 1 year visa free. It didn't take off because Bali offered the same thing, but said all your income will be tax-free. They signed a tax-free agreement. So, so these are the ongoing stuff. So we were in touch with Tourism Malaysia, I think, since the COVID, and we were quite impressed, actually, at the things that they were doing during the downturn in order to prepare Malaysia, and that's why there has been a flurry of activity since 2022 to 2023. They're still traveling around the world, but of course, a very strong emphasis on domestic tourism, right? And of course, the Visit Malaysia year is going to be a very, very strong feature, right? Just to share what Tourism Malaysia was trying to do. Now, in terms of the hotel performance, obviously, as you can see, all the hotels have improved. I think in terms of their occupancy rate compared to the previous year, everything's been fantastic. It's just good to see the resort hotels hitting very high occupancies. I'm very pleased for that, and I already anticipated to be going stronger. In fact, for the month of December was really good, but even January, occupancies were close to 90% in some resorts. This is just the average rate. I know it's still very low at 400 ringgit, but that's because some classifications by MOTEC is luxury class hotels and doesn't come under the classifications. And this is the revenue per available room here. So it's all been on a fantastic uptrend. There's a little pressure on the 3-star hotels because it's too fragmented and they do not have a chain support, right? So I think moving forward, we're going to see a lot of the 3-stars. We're going to start seeing an explosion of the Ibis style type of hotels to cater for the 3-star market. Moving forward, and there is such strong demand, even from us. You know, I feel it because we are really in the tourism sector. The amount of people coming and asking us for opportunities in the tourism and hospitality sector is fantastic, right? And what really is driving it among the foreign investors or even the domestic investor or the hotel operators is the fact that we have a very strong domestic demand. That has been the key for what has been happening the past year. So that's why even the big brands, they're all coming because they want to tap the domestic demand, right? And the third one, I mean, of course, the one I put on the third, we are actually one of the top world destinations. We might not even do that. If I just ask, how many of you all have been to Kota Kinabalu? One. Yep. Just look at this. Less than 20% of this crowd has gone to Kota Kinabalu. We don't appreciate our country very much. Anyway, I'm from KK. I'm a Sabah boy. Just testing, right? So yeah. So I think we do not realize how great our travel destinations are. Right. So yeah. Again, these are just some sharing on how Ascot, Marriott, a lot of the brands they are coming because they already see the potential. You know, they really want to come in. And we are feeling the same with the investors as well. A lot of investors are already making inquiries. And these are all Tourism Malaysia's plans moving forward, right? There's no medical tourism is a big thing. If you want to see how big it is, with your own eyes, you just need to go to Mahkota Parade. There's the medical center there. Just spend a day there. You can see the amount of people coming from Indonesia in boats for medical tourism purposes, or even if you go to Penang, I can't remember the name of the hospital, but there's so many of them who fly from Medan, fly from Singapore. It's a strong feel. And here what I'm saying, on ESG, right? So a lot of the brands are putting in. I mean, for me, for one, when I travel, I ask the hotels now, what are your ESG initiatives? I don't stay in a hotel that has plastic bottles. Right? I don't. And I was very pleased to see Hotel Equatorial recently got the GBI rating, and it's superb, right? I think that is the future. And we already see this ESG theme very, very strongly. We are helping a hotel getting their ESG assessment as well, right? And these are the impact. You know, if you're just interested, do not do an ESG initiative if there's no impact on your bottom line, no impact on your brand, no impact on any value creation. ESG has to have those three, right? It has to have an impact on your company. Don't just do it for the sake of doing it. You get greenwashed, and people might not just believe you anymore. So you need to do it with proper intent, right? These are the key highlights, and if you look at number 5, 6, and 7, you can see already, right, things are already happening. And if you just drive past Sultan Ismail Raja Chulan, you can see the signboard of Waldorf Astoria. The old Istana is going to be a Waldorf Astoria. So what next, right? I think 2023 is going to be a very strong year for tourism. Our biggest challenge on operational level now is staffing, right? So some hotels can't even open 100% of their rooms because they don't have enough housekeepers to clean the rooms, to turn around the rooms. But I also know a lot of my clients are already starting to automate more so they can move the staffing around. Yep. So as you can see here, digitalization and health and wellness. Mandarin Oriental has, I think, about 30 rooms with a treadmill and a gym inside. If you go to some of the hotels in Thailand, it's fantastic. They already have adopted the wellness. And thank you.
Thank you, Surveyor Previn, for the insightful presentation. And please give them a round of applause. Yeah, please. Yeah, okay. Now I open the floor for questions, delegates. Since we are running out of time, maybe we can make it fast.
Sorry, Subra, maybe you forgot. What can go wrong? I think if the Ukraine war escalates, I think tourism worldwide will be impacted. I think that's something that can go wrong. Right. And of course, the fear of another lack of a better word, another pandemic happening. I think these are my two fears that can go wrong.
All right. Maybe I just want to touch on the residential, very short brief. I was trying to quote that our NAPIC director, who have said that the property overhang is reducing quarter by quarter. Between second quarter of last year and third quarter, the 15% reduction. So it's expected to reduce further this year. And then it was echoed by the Deputy Director of NAPIC this year recently. And he also said that in order to avoid this kind of overhang, he urged developers to conduct independent market and feasibility studies. So I think I'm, as a professional, I also echo the same sentiment. So with that, I think we can avoid this kind of problems, or the hangovers in future. Right. All right. Can I expect any one or two questions? Otherwise, we can wrap up. Okay, let's wrap it up today. Thanks for the session. Wonderful session. Then I will really thank all the audience. All right. Thank you.